6:15 a.m. April 21st, 2026. Buckingham Palace, and behind those guarded walls, something happened so quietly, so coldly, that most of the world had no idea history was being rearranged in real time. A royal tradition that survived wars, scandals, abdications, betrayals, and generations of family chaos was suddenly broken without warning. The sovereign's red box, the sacred daily dispatch of state papers, was not taken to the king's private desk like always. No, it was diverted, redirected under tight security to the office of the Lord Chamberlain. That was not a mistake, that was a signal, a warning flare in silence. Because when royal procedure changes without explanation, it usually means somebody powerful is about to lose something even more powerful. And this time, insiders whisper the target was the House of Sussex. While cameras chased ordinary headlines, an invisible machine inside the palace reportedly began moving. Files were opened, doors were sealed, names were spoken in hushed voices. One room became the center of it all, room 1844. Normally a chamber for distinguished guests, elegance, ceremony, and polished smiles. But for 6 closed-door hours, that room allegedly transformed into a legal battlefield. No assistants, no phones, no interruptions. Only the king, the Prince of Wales, and senior legal minds. If true, that means this was not family drama. This was institutional warfare. King Charles III, Prince William. And what sat on the table? A file insiders claim was labeled Project Silver. Even the name sounds sharp, metallic, surgical, not emotional, not messy, strategic. According to whispers swirling through palace circles, Project Silver centers on rewriting royal definitions that many assumed could never be touched. Not with screaming headlines, not with a televised speech, with paperwork, quiet paperwork, the kind that destroys futures without ever raising its voice. Because here is the twist few understand. Some powers of the crown are symbolic, others are buried in old legal instruments so obscure that most people never hear about them until they strike. Letters patent, ancient royal directives that determine titles, styles, status, recognition. Who is prince? Who is princess? Who belongs close to the center and who is left orbiting outside it? If those definitions are altered, then everything changes while technically nothing appears dramatic at all. That is how monarchies survive, not through noise, through wording. Now imagine the moment news of this allegedly reached Montecito. Sources claim there was no calm acceptance, no shrug, no graceful silence. Instead, shock, furious disbelief, pacing, phone calls, urgent messages. Legal teams suddenly pulled into motion. Because if royal status becomes conditional rather than automatic, then the value of titles, branding, leverage, legacy, all of it begins to shake. And when identity has been built around symbolic power, even a subtle legal revision can feel like an earthquake. Meghan Markle. But why now? Why this moment? Why would a father, a grandfather, a king risk opening another front in an already toxic feud? The answer may lie in a pattern years in the making. January 8th, 2020. The world remembers the shock exit from senior royal duties. Inside palace corridors, some allegedly called it a breach. Then came the televised accusations. Then came memoirs. Then came private conversations made public. Then came commercial ventures tied again and again to royal identity. Step by step, what once looked like family conflict may have been interpreted inside the palace as a slow challenge to the institution itself. Prince Harry Oprah Winfrey spare. Then another factor changed the board entirely. Succession stability. When a monarchy feels vulnerable, sentiment often gets sacrificed for continuity. That is the brutal logic of old systems. Individuals matter until the institution feels threatened. Then suddenly individuals become expendable. Cold? Yes. Surprising? Not really. History is full of crowns choosing structure over blood. Sources describe one alleged remark made during internal discussions: the institution must survive the individuals. If even half true, that sentence explains everything. This would not be revenge, it would be presented as necessity. Not punishment, but preservation. Not personal, but constitutional. Those are the most dangerous words in elite power circles, because once something is framed as necessary, almost anything becomes justifiable. And there is another uncomfortable angle: money. Prestige, market value. Titles are not only ceremonial labels in the modern age, they can become commercial magnets. access generators, attention engines. If palace officials believed noble status was being monetized abroad in ways they could not control, that may have crossed a line invisible to the public but blazing red behind closed gates. So what happens next? If Project Silver is real, then this is only the opening move, because once files start moving, councils get briefed, drafts get signed, and legal definitions get sharpened, reversals become difficult. Very difficult. Especially when father and heir are believed to be aligned. That may be the most chilling detail of all. Not one king acting alone, but present and future standing together. Prince William. And somewhere between London stone walls and California sunlight, phones are ringing, advisors are scrambling, and old grievances are colliding with ancient power. The public sees gossip, but beneath it may be a far more ruthless reality, a monarchy deciding who still counts. By the morning of April 23, 2026, the atmosphere around Buckingham Palace had reportedly turned icy. Not dramatic, not chaotic. Worse than that, organized. Because when a palace stops reacting emotionally and starts moving mechanically, it usually means the decision has already been made. Insiders whispered that what looked from the outside like another messy family rift had internally become a four-step containment strategy. No shouting, no public insults, no desperate leaks, just pressure applied from every direction until resistance becomes useless. Step 1, according to the claims swirling through royal circles, was financial isolation. Remove every remaining assumption of support. Cut symbolic dependency. Force complete reliance on private deals and outside contracts. In elite institutions, money is never just money. It is oxygen. It buys patience, lawyers, image management, mobility, influence. If the oxygen is reduced, panic often arrives before the public notices smoke. And if that happened here, then the message was brutal: survive on your own terms, but without expecting the crown to cushion the fall. Prince Harry, Meghan Markle. Step 2 was allegedly even sharper: the neutralization of style. Titles may look ornamental to outsiders, but symbols create markets. They open doors, attract investors, command headlines, and maintain mystique. Remove the shine, and suddenly the same name can feel very different in boardrooms and media circles. Palace sources reportedly described it as a commercial kill switch. If use of royal styling becomes limited, challenged, or politically toxic, then branding power weakens instantly. No screaming confrontation required, just a subtle erosion of magic. Then came the most technical move of all: residency and relevance. Rumors claim new interpretations were being discussed that linked royal proximity not merely to blood, but to physical and functional connection to the realm. In plain language, if you live far away, operate privately, and play no active constitutional role, should inherited status remain untouched forever? That question sounds academic, but inside hereditary systems it is dynamite, because once status depends on participation, absence becomes vulnerability. And finally, the most powerful step: shift the argument away from family feelings and into state continuity. That is where critics lose traction. If a conflict is framed as sibling drama, sympathy flows. If it is reframed as national stability, institutions gain cover. Suddenly, the debate is no longer about hurt emotions, memoirs, interviews, or grudges. It becomes about succession clarity, constitutional dignity, and future risk management. Cold language, effective language. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic in California, reports describe tense scenes of urgent communication. One detail stood out in particular: references to encrypted devices, rapid legal contact, and visible stress. Whether exaggerated or not, those stories spread for one reason: people sensed something larger than gossip was happening. Because when both sides lawyer up in silence, spectators know the smiles are over. Then another rumor sent chills through watchers of the royal saga that a memorandum connected to Project Silver carried not only the king's authority, but the unmistakable alignment of the heir. If true, that means the most painful hope would disappear overnight, the hope that time alone could reverse everything in the next reign. If present and future stand together, then waiting becomes pointless. King Charles III, Prince William. And yet the palace may never need a dramatic announcement. That is the genius and cruelty of old institutions. They often erase by omission. A name quietly absent from a roster. A title no longer emphasized. An invitation never sent. A seating plan adjusted. A website updated. No speech, no war, no visible execution, just a gradual administrative disappearance until the world realizes someone once central now exists only in tabloids and memory. But every perfect strategy carries one hidden danger, which the other side knows. Late in the file's claims came whispers of stored recordings, archived understandings, forgotten agreements, and documents from earlier years that could embarrass powerful people if ever released. Whether real, exaggerated, or entirely strategic, even the rumor of hidden evidence changes negotiations. Because institutions fear scandal, but they fear fear unpredictable evidence even more. So now the board sits in tense silence. On one side, a monarchy built on patience, ritual, and the art of saying nothing while everything changes. On the other, a Martin celebrity power couple fluent in media warfare, public sympathy, and timing. One side uses procedure, the other uses exposure. One moves behind doors, the other can move before cameras. And that is why this story feels unfinished. Prince Harry, Meghan Markle. Because if the crown has chosen law as its sword, then the response may come through narrative, interviews, revelations, or something no one sees coming. If silence wins, the palace strengthens. If secrets emerge, the damage spreads everywhere. Either way, trust is already bleeding. And somewhere tonight, inside London stone halls and California glass rooms, people are staring at documents, waiting for the first side to blink.